All right, everybody, welcome to the Tool Shop Live. This is our inaugural booth. This is a kind of a first for the event for this show, focusing on tool rooms. What type of equipment do we need? How should it be laid out? We're going to cover some topics about what it takes to have a state-of-the-art tool room, a new age tool room in today's world, today's maintenance world. So while I'm giving this presentation, I invite everybody within earshot to come on in. We're going to crack the keg open. The beer will be flowing over here off to my right. So feel free to come in, get a beer while it's cold. My name is Steve Johnson, and I've assembled a great group of people here that we've worked with over the years who have supplied our facility with some equipment that everyone needs to have. We're going to go around the room in a little bit. I want to introduce you to these people and understand how their equipment can help. We're going to start off a little bit by talking about tool room layouts, some of the things that we need. We're going to show you some examples of some tool rooms who have completely revamped their shops, spent very few dollars, but put a lot of thought into the flow, into the layout, into things that we don't think about, like lighting, utilities, bench ergonomics, how much room we need between the benches, depending upon what type of tools that we're working on. So we have a lot of information to show you over the next few minutes. So once again, feel free to come on in, grab a cold beer, and let's take you on the tour of some outstanding shops that we've been in across the United States over the last few years. So one of the things that we do at MoldTrax, we conduct MCAs, Maintenance Capability Assessments. We actually come in your tool room and we look at all things maintenance related. We start at the press, what type of documentation you're collecting, and then we work our way into the tool room and we take a look at your facilities, how your shop is laid out, and is it conducive to the type of molds that you have coming into your tool room. So these are some of our observations that we made over the years, some of the top 10 maintenance issues that we've observed. They may or may not be observations about your own shop. We'll let you decide that. But some of the things we see, probably the number one thing that we see, most shops are just too small. They're overcrowded. They're sharing this space with other machinery or maybe plant maintenance. So we have, benches kind of crowded, jammed in beside bridge ports and other metalworking equipment. Poor lighting, another huge issue that we see. So just for testing's sake, we brought our light meter to the show. And I think, Glenn, when you plug this in, what you're standing in now is about, 50 foot candles?
50 foot candles, yes.
50 foot candles of light in this room right now. One of the things we always recommend is we don't have anything less than 75. If you've been to our tool room in Ashland, when you walk in there, that is about 110 foot candles. That's about surgical, operating, emergency room brightness. And this is important when you're working on tools and you have plates standing up, you're trying to see in the counter bores and really get a good view of sharp edges and things like that. You don't want to have to pull out a mag light every time you want to take a look at the back of a plate and see what type of corrosion that we're suffering from. So lighting is extremely critical. No easy access to utilities. One of the things that we talk about, kind of a fancy term, is bench cell technology. So if you'll notice on this TD bench, we have everything that you need. Now this particular style of bench is designed for a 6,000 pound mold or less. We're all about ergonomics. The job of a repair technician is 50% hand skills. 50% hand skills, 50% gray matter. So we have to be able to control the work that we're doing on our molds. To be able to do that efficiently, we have to have things at the right height. We have to have benches at the right length so we can completely disassemble and work through the 8 stages correctly. So bench design is critical. And we also want to make sure that we have the proper utilities. So this bench comes completely equipped with all the air, 110, all the power. We have a manifold water system, Berger and Brown manifold system. On the end of the bench, we can do complete testing. We can do GPM tests. We can do flow restriction analysis. So when you make your living behind a bench like this, all of these things become important. I don't want to have to spend most of my day tracking down the tools that I need, looking for the right equipment, hoping that the water table is freed up. We want to make absolutely sure that we have everything we need and it's close at hand. Not a lot of money here. Just some thought about what does a repair technician need when he's working on molds on a daily basis. We see a lot of shops that are just completely overloaded with obsolete equipment. Old bridge ports, lathes, spotting presses, things that haven't been used in years. But yet it has sentimental value, and I understand that. You know, we had some old bridge ports that I didn't want to see disappear. I kind of was brought up on them, but you know, they reached the end of their useful life, and if we're not using this equipment on a daily basis, I think a lot of times we'd be better off we just stuck it out on eBay, get rid of it, and then free up some space so we have more room around the benches so we can work faster and safer. A lot of shops only have one PC location, one maintenance spot. So you've got 4 or 5 or 6 guys or even more in a tool room, and they don't use data on a daily basis. So, you know, management doesn't appreciate how vital that is to our jobs. So they stick a little monitor out on a bench somewhere over in the corner of the shop. And then if I'm working on this tool and I see something that I want someone who's going to follow me, if I want, you know, him to know that, but yet I have to walk 30 or 40 feet and then spend 20 minutes logging in to look at a little screen, I'm just going to say, forget about it. I'll remember it. I'll tell the guy later, and it never happens. If you want tradespeople, if you want people who work with their hands on a daily basis to give you usable, accurate data, it has to be easy for them. So we recommend this dock station. We don't sell these, but we'll tell you where you can get the pieces and parts. I mean, you're looking at an entire dock station here, folks. There's less than $750 in this thing. We have a battery backup printer, keyboard, nice 24-inch monitor, everything that you need. You can roll this thing right up to a bench, and now it becomes another tool that I can use. It's not stuffed over in a corner, you know, waiting for me to hope that I remember to enter something. These need to be close by. They need to be easy to use. Poor housekeeping practices. Unfortunately, just something that compounds already poor tool shops. We have a lot of junk laying around, obsolete tooling. We have, you know, limbo cabinets of tooling that we're not sure what we want to do with. So we just, you know, stick it in the cabinet and we wait for an emergency till we pull it back out, re-inspect it, and go through this whole thing again. So we have beat up cabinets full of miscellaneous junk fittings. We see this everywhere we go. It doesn't take a lot of capital investment to even have poorly outfit shops at least clean and organized so we can work safer. Components stored scattered about, not organized or maintained. So we see a lot of crib areas where there's just kind of, you know, relative tooling, components kind of stuffed in random drawers. There's no one monitoring anything, so, you know, if I need a set of O-rings or a specific component and I walk into a crib, I want to know that it's in that drawer and it's ready to use. No vacuum system. One of the things that we incorporated when I was a tool manager at Abbott Labs was we put in a nice vacuum unit. So because we worked on a lot of hot runner tools, and so part of the practice of working on hot runner manifolds, many times we'll have to heat these things up. So you have a shop like this, you're looking at, this is a 30 by 50 booth. This is a perfect size booth for a 4-bench operation. And if I had an appropriate beam behind me, I could get a Niederman vent hood, hook it up to the back. I would be able to reach all 4 benches and evacuate any kind of smoke that comes off of a hot runner system that I don't want my employees smelling. Some of these resins are pretty bad. Acetal. I mean, the stuff just stinks, and it gives you headaches, and I'm sure that it's not too good health-wise. So you want to be able to remove that. No standard bench design. It's like, who was the welder this year? So this is the way he likes to build benches. Round tubing, 29 inches off the ground, 4 foot by 6 foot. Benches need to be designed specific to the type of mold that you're working on. So once again, this is a perfect bench for a 6,000-pound tool or less. 12 feet by 3 feet by 35 inches off the ground. It puts that size of a tool in a perfect position for me to manage it, get it apart, work on it. Again, when you make your living behind here all day, a couple of inches up or down can really put a strain on your back and make a huge difference on your ability to control the operation that you're performing. And then lastly, no posted metrics. Every tool shop needs to have goals. Defect reduction, unscheduled mold stop reduction. What mold's costing me the most in tooling and in labor to get through a 100,000 cycle run? This is the kind of data that we want to be able to collect. We want to set targets and goals. We want to post these in the tool room so maintenance becomes more than just firefighting and fixing the issue of the day, sticking another shim in it. We have to have viable targets and goals so we've got something to work for. So these are the things that we see when we do maintenance audits around the country. So what do we need? Well, fortunately, for those of you that are in here, what we need and everything that we need is in this booth right now. We need cleaning equipment. We need an ultrasonic tank. It's absolutely crazy that people are still cleaning tools with bottle brushes and solvent and Scotch-Brite and gun drills. It takes so long to do this. We're slowly wearing out our molds and our tooling. Over time, we see this. For those of you who are collecting data and know that 75% of the time that you're working on a mold, you're going to be cleaning something. I can guarantee that. I've looked at enough data analysis and enough companies to know 75% of the time that you're working on a mold or repairing some type of an issue, it involves cleaning that component or these plates. I paid for my ultrasonic in 30 days. So it's imperative that we have one of those. The same with dry ice. Dry ice, non-abrasive method. It does a great job in its specialties, and that is blowing the resin off, cleaning off residue off of hot tooling. For those of you who run LSR tools, liquid silicone rubber, or other thermal sets, you want to be able to use dry ice. That's the best way to clean, especially some of these larger tools where you want to clean off the faces. I bought one so I could use it out on the floor. Instead of Scotch-Briting the face of the mold when I'm doing my in-mold press PMs, we simply rolled the dry ice machine out. We went from a 45-minute Scotch-Brite wipe down and try to get all the residue out to a 10-minute blow-off with the dry ice machine. Also a very quick ROI. And then plastic media. Most people have sandblasters. In your sandblasters, you're going to have walnut shells. You're going to have some type of glass beads. You're going to have aluminum oxide. You're going to have something that's extremely abrasive. Plastic media is available from a company called Polyblast. You can buy different hardnesses of it, different diameters of it. It'll remove heavy residue like rust off of componentry, and it won't remove your plating. It won't dull the chrome. So look into plastic media blasting. If you're not sure where to get this, stop in at the end of this, and I'll hook you up with some names. We mentioned lighting, 75-foot candles minimum. This room is 50. It needs to be twice this bright. We're looking at 50 in here. Benches, we talked about benches. We need to have the correct spacing so that it's safe. At our 4-bench shop, we have 5 feet in between all of our benches. Gives me plenty of room to get my roll around through these benches. If I'm working on unscrewing tools with long racks, Again, I can lay them down. I got plenty of room to get around these benches. All these things are critical when you're working on molds on a daily basis. Overhead hoist system. Again, unbelievable how many companies are picking up molds with fork trucks and then trying to set them on a bench and then slide the forks back and forth to get molds open. And you got this herky-jerk thing going on. You hope it doesn't fall over. You could get, I mentioned this was a 30 by 50. I can cover this entire area for about $40,000 with a nice overhead hoist system with not one but two trucks, two movable trucks. One of the big problems with bridge cranes is that it's always tied up. And when I need to use it, it's got something hanging or somebody else has this thing. So again, $45,000. Again, we can contact you with the right people to get that done. Floors and walls. Everybody loves stone hard. I'm anti-stone hard in a tool room. Stone hard is basically just an epoxy over some sand. It looks good for a day. And then as soon as we start moving molds around, we start dropping molds, you start scratching things up, the floor goes to crap. You cannot patch it. It'll never look good again. You can see every scratch and ding that was ever put on it. Also, they call it stone hard for a reason. If I'm working on this tool and I have something roll off the bench, an ejector pin or a core with a sharp edge, it hits that stone hard, I'm going to ding that piece of tooling. We much prefer manufacturing grade tile. And I'm going to show you some images here of some shops that have incorporated this into their tool rooms. Not only does it look fantastic, but it wears well. You can polish it up. You can replace the tiles. And if I have a piece of tooling roll off and it hits that tile, it's not going to do a thing to it. It's not going to cut it up. It's not going to ding it. So we love the manufacturing grade tile. And just some other nice things that we have in shop. The die set mold splitter, fantastic tool for basically any size of tool. I'm kind of used to doing things by hand on 6,000 pound molds or less, but I was never able to operate a die set. I tell you what, if you got some space in your shop, that's the fastest, the best, the safest way to open up a mold and flip it over on its back and get quick access to it. Hooks, chains, straps, storage. We got Joe back here in the corner. He's got some of the nicest hooks and chains. You can see all along the front of the bench. We have them hanging on our shadow boards. Brightly colored things that, we're not going to lose. We can see it when it's on a mold. And, come in a variety of colors, which really makes it nice if you're trying to keep track of this stuff. Mold polishing equipment. Some of the best equipment in the world we've got from Geschwin behind us. At our shop, we have 8 of their polishers. We have 2 for every bench. We want our repair technicians to have some basic hand skills. How to remove a burr, how to do some light polishing, how to be able to refurb an edge with their laser welder. These are skills that it doesn't take 40 years worth of experience to master. It takes the right equipment, a little bit of training, and you're well on your way to saving literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, not including all the time spent sending everything out to get it done. You can do this in-house with the right training and the right equipment. Vidmar spare components. You can't beat nice, organized, heavy-duty cabinets to store all of your expensive componentry in. So we're going to show you a couple pictures of those. So these are some of the things we need in today's shop. Along with some of this equipment you see here in front of me. The fast heat checkers. We teach people how to use ohm meters. We're kind of old school. We want you to learn, what you're actually doing, what you're actually reading with an ohm meter, how to gauge resistance, how to do an insulation resistance test with the right equipment. And it's great to know that. It's like, before you jump on your CNC machine, it's nice if you got a little bit of time on a manual Bridgeport. Kind of the same deal here. But on a day-to-day basis, if I'm checking molds, I want to make sure that my heaters, my controllers, that everything's up to speed. I'm going to grab one of these fast heat checkers, and what normally might take me 10, 15 minutes to do with an ohm meter, I'm going to do here in just less than a minute. So these things are well worth the money. They're foolproof. And again, they're going to help you reduce mistakes. All right, let's move on to some of these shops. So I hope you all can see this. I really wish it was up on this screen. These are some shops before that we worked with initially. And we just wanted to show you what some bad shops look like. In case some of these things that I'm saying make you feel a little bad about your shop, I guarantee you they're probably not this bad. So, you can see what we've got here. I mean, you can see the bench, the molds right here. We're dodging all this solvent over here, trying to get something done. Over here, when we went to work with this guy, he literally had to just shoot all this off of his bench so we could work on some componentry over here. Just kind of general organizational, just clutter. Not a lot of rhyme or reason. The tool shops that we get into, it's like it's piecemeal. Today we're going to have, awesome. Okay. Today we're going to have, this new piece of machinery come in, we're just going to stick it over here. We're going to put a bench over here. And so that's how there's no thought to it. It's wherever we have space. And that's how we build our shops. Where can I put this piece of equipment? Well, we need to develop a plan. You need to look 5 years down the road. Where do you want to be? How big do you want to get? How many more molds are you going to have come through your shop? What will be your mold we call it mold pull pace, MPP. Mold pull pace. How many molds will be coming into your shop over a 24-hour period? Shops need to be designed around this. So these are some nasty shops. Not real motivating to come in here, right? I mean, I had a guy tell me once that worked here that just to get in the mood to come in there, he would have to slam his hand in the car door about 3 times just to get the pain, to get a good scream going before he could even walk in there and work. It's that frustrating when you make your living behind a bench to have to work in this kind of condition on a $100,000 tool, and then I've got someone for production screaming over my shoulder to hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And this is what we get to work with. So this is what we hope you understand. This is what we want to move away from. Here's another shop. A lot of stuff, a little bit cluttered. Over here, we've got a water check system right next to some DME controllers, right next to a lot of voltage right here. So this could be an extremely enlightening experience just working around here. And this is what they worked in every day. Cluttered, dirty, and dangerous. So here's a shop that we worked with. My partner, Glenn Keith, created a design for this tool room. This is the before shot. So we can see, they actually used machine bases to work on their tools. I keep forgetting that's there. So you can see they actually used machine bases to work on their tools. Their cabinetry, everything was falling apart. You pull a drawer out, it's going to land on your feet. Things just stuffed in here completely out of order. They had an ultrasonic tank that was basically not being used because they bought the wrong kind. So ultrasonics takes the perfect mixture of solution, temperature, and transducer. So those of you who are thinking about ultrasonics, you want to make sure you talk to these guys from Blue Wave. They're going to tell you exactly what you need for your application. So this was the before shot. They contracted us. We drew them up a conceptual drawing on how best to utilize their space. And this is probably one of my favorite shops. It's not real big, but it's just, first of all, it's just beautiful. I mean, we even have a company theme going here with the colors. They got the fully loaded benches, Burger and Brown manifolds. You can see this track along here, all underground utilities. They can add to it. If they want to add a complete vent system, which they could very easily drop some 3-inch PVC in here, stub it up to each bench, and have an actual vacuum hood at every bench. My buddy Glenn Keith designed that system. It worked perfect here. And you can see they went with a monorail system. We are in favor, we love monorail systems versus bridge crane systems, because now I have a hoist positioned dead center over every bench. If you make your living on this side of the bench, on the blue shirt side of the bench, you realize how important it is to have that tool accessible all day long. If I want to get a better shot of this tool, I want to be able to pick it up. I want to be able to lay it down. If I'm looking through bores, if I'm trying to take out broken dowel pins, I want total control of what I'm doing. That's how you get it. If I don't have that available, it's down at the other end of the shop. I'm just going to try to muscle whatever I got to do and hope I get it in the right position and I don't knock anything over, crush my fingers. You can see they've got a dual station here. So we've got a 4-bench operation. We have 6 guys in that tool room. They're assigned to these benches. We have nice stations over here, so nobody's waiting in line to enter data. And, again, a beautiful floor. They got their goal board setting up over here, targets and goals that they're shooting for. This is just an absolutely beautiful shop, and it would be awesome to be able to go in there every day and ply my trade versus some of these other ones that we've looked at. So this is just a really beautiful shop. Here's another one. Now, we didn't have much, we did an audit here, but this was how it was built before we came on board. We love their level of organization. Everything has its place. A huge cart that gets pushed around in the morning in between the benches. We pick it up, we drop it into a giant ultrasonic tank. I mean, we're cleaning a ton of tooling here off this custom-made system. I can just imagine how long it would take to hand clean all these pieces and parts and all the damage you'd be doing in the meantime. Nice level of organization at the bench. Really, the only thing that I would change in the design and the layout of this shop is the spacing between the benches. You can see these are pretty large tools, so they're kind of forced to work on them long ways. And this is only about 3 feet. I would have, with this size of tool, I would have wanted 6 feet between these benches. Plenty of room to get my roll around. And if this guy wants to spin his mold or he knocks something off, then he's not going to knock it over on my heel. But again, a really nice shop to work in. They got a nice Mold Masters blow up here. So when working on these hot runner manifolds, we can see the standard, the correct terminology for the pieces and parts that we use. Again, very nice shop, very busy shop. 18 full-time tool makers in here repairing full-time these molds. Here's another shop, a Before. So typical of what we see, they're kind of jammed over into the corner of a warehouse someplace, and this is the space that they get. So they're spread out, no utilities. They got quite a bit of ways to walk around, but almost too far. So they've got more room than they do organization. No overhead hoist here. No scheme. The lighting was just okay. We always check the foot candles, and depending upon what bench you hold it under, you might hit 60 or 75. No cleaning equipment. Everything was by hand. This is, again, a big shop. Cleaning stuff by hand, that's just crazy. A buried dock station way around the corner. I got more than a dozen guys in here standing in line just to close out a work order, let alone give me some very helpful tech tips, some things that I need to know if I'm working on this tool and I'm a novice and I'm just starting. What's the best way to take this thing apart? I want to be able to go to my manual. I spent 6 years in the Navy as a jet mechanic working on A4s. We had a very systemized process. We didn't just rip a jet engine apart and spread it out all over the shop and put it together however we wanted. We had a specific method, a specific way to do that. And we're working on molds that are 150, 200,000 or more, and we're just going to let a guy work on it any way he wants. Not a smart plan. We have to use data. The clutter factor, not bad. So here's the before, here's the after. Another absolutely gorgeous tool room. Monorail system over every bench. When you have a monorail, another advantage is you can drop lighting down between. Since I don't have a bridge crane moving back and forth across, I can get fluorescent lights low. We're looking at about 120, 125 foot candles just by being able to do that. We've got all of our benches lined up. They even went the extra mile here. Now, we Blanchard grind all the tops of the benches that we sell. They went the extra mile here and actually had these surface ground. So, I mean, they're just absolutely beautiful. Everything's laid out. You can see where the mold needs to go. Now, you can see they dropped a couple $100,000 in this renovation. What they weren't planning on, and they really didn't care. They knew they needed a better shop. They knew they wanted to up their skill level. They knew they wanted to reinvigorate, motivate their guys. So this is, they were willing to spend that much money to do that. What they didn't realize was how much money that they were going to save in reducing their PM times by having everything organized and accessible. They hadn't counted on that. So they started looking at their PM times, 90 hours, 60 hours, getting reduced to 20 hours because they had the equipment that they needed. And again, personal benches, they have, the posters up on the walls that when you come through our courses, we certify everyone. And they wanted their customers to know that, hey, we are going to take care of your tools. We're going to take care of your mold. Send your mold here. We're not going to just let, anybody work on it in any manner. We have a system. So, again, an absolutely beautiful shop. And I think the icing on the cake for them was they dropped in this beautiful blue wave that also fit the entire blue scheme. They dropped this in at the end of the shop. And they were smart enough to get one big enough to get their plates in. Not just tooling components. If you're going to drop some money in one of these, make sure you get them big enough to put plates in. I've seen ultrasonic tanks 10 foot by 10 foot by 10 foot deep. Get one big enough. It'll keep your water lines clean. It'll keep all of your cavitation, all of your bores, your dowel pins, your threaded holes. It does a great job inside and out. So that was just kind of the icing on the cake for these guys. And they had an unbelievably quick ROI on the entire system. So they were very happy about that, and we were too. Here's another shop. Now they run bigger tools here. Now they went with the tile. Excuse me. I'm not sure I'm big on the checkerboard, but because it does look busy with that much space, but it's a whole lot better than a beat up stone hard floor. It's pretty nice. They got a ton of space. Now they're in the process of revamping this. Their benches were going to go over in this area, and then they were deciding what kind of tile they wanted to put over here. But already starting the organization level with the hoist rings and the hooks, and getting ready to do something with their mold rack. But again, extremely well lit, and every intention of going with underground utilities so they can equip all of their stations. Now here's one that we really like. This is a shop in Ireland that we visited. And the shop was okay, but in my other life, I'm a cabinet maker, and I love wood, and I love dovetails, and I love good joinery, and I just love beautiful wood. And I just thought, man, how great it would be to come to work on a freaking what do you call it? Parquet floor every day. And this was not some thin stuff. These pieces are like an inch and a quarter thick. And they had sanded it down, worked it down a couple times. But just what a feeling of craftsmanship. And that's what we try to promote. That's what we try to instill in every shop that we work with, because we want your repair technicians to be craftsmen, not slam bang tooling replacers. And when you have a shop like this, when you work with nice tools and precision tools all day long, then that's just going to bleed over into the type of work that you do on your tools. You work in a crappy shop, you're going to get crappy work out of them on your expensive tools. So this is our shop at Tooling Docks Mold Tracks in Ashland, Ohio. You can see we've got dock stations at every bench. We built this shop to be a working shop. The instructional part of it came, we finished building this thing in 07, 08. So we opened up our doors. We were ready for the world, when everything else crashed. We had a lot of people in the area that were going to send us molds for PMs, so, we were set up for it. Bridge crane, 2 trucks. This is the shop that I built when I was at Abbott. Again, monorail systems. This was kind of a long, skinny shop, but everything built in that we needed. Same type bench, underground utilities. This is some automation plastic up near Cleveland. Nice shop. They bought a bunch of benches. Red, that's their company colors. A great level. All these benches have red Craftsman boxes where every tool is foam fit. So they went well above and beyond the call there to organize their tools. And this is just another shot of our shop with our shadow boards that you see in front of you. So this is what we wanted to show you. We wanted to talk a little bit about layout and how things should be designed and how critical it is that you look at your mold pull pace and you consider the size of the tools that you're working on. We worked with Rubbermaid. We helped them design their tool room. These were component benches. When you're working on a 50, 60, 70,000 pound tool, this is what the cores and cavities sit on. They're working off sawhorses and working off the floor. So this 30 by 50 would be 2 cells for them. It'd be 2 cells to work on these big molds. And then each cell would have a component bench, but again, outfit with utilities and everything that we need, but just laid out differently because we're working on larger tools. So all these things come into play. And believe me, I spent 24 years as a toolmaker behind the bench, and I know how important it is just to have a shelf a foot off the floor so I could put my foot on at the end of the day when my back is screaming, or have a nice mat down here, a nice gel mat. So again, when you're standing on your feet all day, or having access to all these different utilities, it's a whole different frame of mind. You're a craftsman. You're working into a state-of-the-art shop. None of these shops, guys, spend a ton of money. It's not about, it's not about spending $1 million over here. It's about utilizing the space that you have, taking advantage of that, cleaning out that old junk, getting better lighting. We put lights in all over our shop for $2,500. That's no money. So think about that. When you go back, you take a look at your old shops, give us a call. One of the things that Glenn and I love doing, and that is creating just conceptual drawings. You tell us what your square footage is. You tell us what your mold pull pace is and the tonnage of the molds that you're working on. Where you want to be in 5 years, we'll help you lay out your tool room. So give us a call anytime. What I'd like to do right now, if anybody have any questions, first of all, any questions about anything I've covered, costs, issues, restrictions? Okay, so I assume you're going to take all this back and you're immediately going to start revamping your tool rooms. That's what we want to hear. So what I want to do right now before we close out here is I just want to kind of quickly go around the room, grab another beer. We've got 410 solo cups that someone has to drink. So make sure you get yours filled. So I want to start right here on the corner with Louie and Mike and the die set. We're going to come back to these guys, but right now this is one of those indispensable pieces of equipment, especially the larger tools. You need something like this to be safe and speedy. This is what's the tonnage? 6,000 pound molds or less. That's what we can handle here. So not a lot of floor space involved with this tool. So excellent, excellent way to open and tip a mold versus, wrestling with it on a bench. Behind him, we got Joe back here with the hoist rings. Some of the finest in the industry. We found out when we opened up our shop to the public, when OSHA come through, all of our hoist rings, our chains, we had to get everything re-inspected. It was completely unsafe, so we had to throw pretty much everything away what we had. And we went with all Joe's type of hoist rings. And again, you can see them hanging on the front here, but we've never had any scares. We have a couple large tools, maybe 8,000 pounds that we pick up, and it was always a little shaky. Little for some of you guys, right? Yeah, 8,000-pound tool for us is a monster. But it was always a little shaky when we grab that old rusted eye bolt and pick it up. And then back here in the corner, we got Tooling Docs, our sister company, along with Mold Tracks, our data systems. So he has some products also. Next to him, we've got Manny at Fast Heat. We've got one of Manny's controllers in our shop, one of the easiest controllers I've ever used. And I love these new smart controllers. They do so much. And we have our attendees. This thing is so easy to use that when we have our attendees come through, and just so you know, we've seen over 2,000 people in the last 11 years. We've had over 2,000 attendees come through our tool room, and half of those attend our hot runner repair course, and we use Manny's controller. No trouble picking this thing up. Very quick, simple to use. We love that thing. On this side, we got Geschwin over here. Again, we have 8 of their polishers sitting around our benches so we can teach guys, how to pick up some skills. Next to him, we got Steve Wilson on the cold jet. Talk to him. He's going to show you why that's the machine to use for thermosets, for liquid silicone rubber, things that we typically can't clean in an ultrasonic tank, and you end up having to scrub it or blow it off. That's the machine to have. And what I really love about it, he comes to our facility. He has this little thing he does. He'll take an M&M, and he'll gear this thing down and clean the M off the M&M and never remove the color. He'll take the ink off of your business card without putting a hole in it. We have that much control with that system. All right, folks, that's the end of my presentation. Now we got to go work on the 200 solo cups of beer. And we're going to do a demo right here with Louis. He's going to show you how this thing works. So come on in. Come on in.